Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. How is everyone tonight? Our book read was postponed by a night. Eek. Hi, Paula. We are already in chapter 15, y'all. Chapter 15, and if I was that girl, I would have long got out of that house. I just think her past is keeping her there. And I think a little curiosity too. So we are going to get into our prayer and get started with the housemaid. All right, tonight's prayer. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord in whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. Proverbs 16:3. And set that right down there. All right, we are going to get started. I'm going to get comfy. Exactly is right, Paula. All right, let me get comfy and we are going to get reading. Oh, I love getting comfy on book night. Ugh. Yes, and I have my drink here. All right. Let's see what's going on in the world of the housemaid. This Saturday, Nina is throwing a small PTA gathering in her backyard. They're meeting up to plan something called Field Day, in which the kids play in a field for a few hours, and somehow it takes months of planning to prepare for it. Nina has been talking about it non-stop, and she has tested me no less than a dozen times to remind me to pick up the hors d'oeuvres. I'm starting to get stressed because, as usual, the entire house was a mess when I woke up this morning. I don't know how this house gets so messy. Is Nina's medication treating some sort of disorder where she gets up in the middle of the night and makes a mess in the house? Is that a thing? I don't know how the bedrooms get so bad overnight. For example, when I came into her bedroom to clean in the morning, there are usually at least 3 or 4 towels thrown over the floor, sopping wet. There's usually toothpaste caked into the sink that I have to scrub to get free. Nina has some sort of aversion to throwing her clothes in the laundry basket, so it takes a good 10 minutes to gather for her underwear, pants, pantyhose, etc. Thank God Andrew is better at getting his clothing in the laundry basket. Excuse me. Then there's the stuff that needs to be dry cleaned, of which there is a lot. Nina doesn't distinguish between the two. And, God forbid, I make the wrong decision about what goes in the laundry machine and what needs to run to the dry cleaner. That would be a hanging offense. The other things in the food wrappers, I find candy wrappers stuffed into nearly every crevice in her bedroom and bathroom. I suppose that explains why Nina is 50 pounds heavier than she was in the photograph of when her and Andrew first met. By the time I have cleaned the house top to bottom, dropped off the dry cleaning, and completed the laundry, and the ironing, I'm running very short on time. The women are going to arrive within the hour, and I'm still not done with all the tasks Nina had assigned me, including picking up the hors d'oeuvres. She's not going to understand if I try to explain that to her, considering she nearly fired me last week when she caught me watching Family Feud with Andrew. I can't afford to make any mistakes. I've got to make sure this afternoon is perfect. Then I get to the backyard. The Winchester's backyard is one of the most beautiful sights in the neighborhood. Enzo has done his job well. The hedges are trimmed to precisely. It's like he used a ruler. Flowers dot the edges of the yard, adding a pop of color. And the grass is so lush and green. I'm half tempted to lie down on it, waving my arms to make a grass angel. But apparently they don't spend much time out here because all of the patio furniture has a thick layer of dust on it. Everything has a thick layer of dust on it. Oh, I do not have time to get everything done. Millie, are you okay? Andrew is standing behind me, dressed casually for a change, in a blue polo shirt and khaki slacks. Somehow he looks even better than he does in an expensive suit. I'm fine, I mumble. I shouldn't even be talking to him. You look like you're about to cry, he points out. I wipe my eyes self-consciously with the back of my hand. I'm fine. There's just a lot to do for this PTA meeting. That's not worth crying over. His brow wrinkled. Those PTA women are never going to be satisfied, no matter what you do. They're all awful. That does not make me feel any better. Look, maybe I have a... He digs around in his pocket and pulls out a crumpled tissue. I can't believe I have a tissue in my pocket. But here, I manage to smile as I accept the tissue. As I dab my nose, I catch a whiff of Andrew's aftershave. Now, he said, what can I do to help? I shake my head. It's fine. I can handle it. You're crying. He props up one of his feet on the dirty chair. Seriously, I'm completely useless. Just tell me what you need me to do. When I hesitate, he adds, look, we both want to make Nina happy, right? This is how you make her happy. She's not going to be happy if you let this screw up. Fine, I grumble. It would be incredibly helpful if you could pick up the hors d'oeuvres. Done. It feels like a giant weight has been lifted from my shoulders. It's going to take me 20 minutes to get to the store to pick up the hors d'oeuvres and 20 minutes to get back. That would have left me only 15 minutes to clean this filthy patio. Could you imagine if Nina sat in one of the chairs in her white outfits? Thank you, I say. I really, really appreciate it. Really. He grins at me. Really? Really, really. Cecilia burst into the backyard that moment, wearing a light pink dress with white trim. Like her mother, she doesn't have much. One hair out of place. Daddy, she says. He turns to gaze on Cecilia. What's up, Cece? The computer isn't working, she said. I can't do my homework. Can you fix it? I absolutely can. He rests a hand on her shoulder. But first, we are going on a little road trip, and it's going to be super fun. She looks at him dubiously. He ignores her skepticism. Go put on your shoes. It would have taken me half a day to convince Cecilia to put on her shoes, but she obediently goes back into the house to do what he says. Cecilia is nice enough, as long as I'm not in charge of her. You're good with her, I comment. Thanks. She looks a lot like you. Andrew shakes his head. Not really. She looks like Nina. She does, I insist. She has Nina's coloring and hair, but she has your nose. He toys with the hem of his polo shirt. Cecilia isn't my biological daughter, so any resemblance between the two of us is, coincidental. Wow, I can't stop putting my foot in my mouth. Oh, I didn't realize. It's not a big deal. His brown eyes trained on the back door, waiting for Cecilia to return. I met Nina when Cecilia was a baby, so I'm the only father she's ever known. I think of her as my daughter. It's the same difference. Of course, my opinion of Andrew Winchester goes up a few more notches. Not only did he not go for some kind of supermodel, but he married a woman who already had a child and raised that child as his own. Like I said, you're good with her. I think kids are great. I wish we had a dozen of them. Andrew looks like he wants to say something else, but then he presses his lips shut. I remember what Nina told me weeks ago about how they were trying to get pregnant. I remember the bloody tampon I found on the bathroom floor. I wonder if they've had any success since then. Based on the sad look in Andrew's eyes, I suspect the answer is no. But I'm sure Nina will be able to get pregnant if that's what they want. After all, they have all the resources in the world. Either way, it's none of my business. And that takes us to chapter 16. It's safe to say I hate every single woman at this PTA meeting. There are 4 of them total, including Nina. I've memorized their names: Julianne, Patrice, Suzanne, not to be confused. The reason I have mentioned their names, it's because Nina will not let me leave the backyard. She's been making me stand in the corner, constantly at attention, in case they need something. At least the hors d'oeuvres are a success, and Nina has no idea Andrew picked them up for me. I'm just not happy with the field day menu. Suzanne toys with her pen against her chin. I've heard Nina refer to Suzanne before as her best friend, but as far as I can tell, Nina isn't close with any of her so-called friends. I feel like there needs to be more than one gluten-free option. I agree, Jillian says, and even though there is a vegan option, it's not vegan and gluten-free. So what are people who are both vegan and gluten-free supposed to eat? I don't know. Grass? I've honestly never seen women more obsessed with gluten. Every time I brought out an hors d'oeuvre, each of them questioned me about the amount of gluten in it, as if I have any idea. I don't even know what gluten is. It's a sweltering hot day today, and I would give anything to be back in the house under the air conditioner. Hell, I would give anything to have a drink of the pink sparkling lemonade that the women are sharing. I keep wiping sweat from my forehead Every time they're not looking at me, I'm afraid I may have pit stains. This blueberry goat's cheese flatbread should have been heated up, Patrice comments, as she chews on the morsel in her mouth. They're hardly lukewarm. I know, Nina said regretfully. I asked my maid to take care of it, but you know how it is. It's hard to find good help. My mouth falls open. She never asked me any such thing. Also, does she realize I'm standing right here? Oh, it truly is, Jillian nods, sympathetic. You just can't hire anyone good anymore. The work ethic in this country is so horrible. You wonder why people like that can't find better jobs, right? It's laziness, pure and simple. Or else you get someone foreign, Susan adds in, and they barely speak the language, like Esno. At least he's nice to look at, Patrice laughs. The rest of them hoot and giggle, although Nina is oddly silent. I suppose she doesn't have to ogle the hot landscaper when she's married to Andrew. I can't blame her on that one. She also seems to have some sort of strange grudge against Enzo. I'm itching to say something after the way they've been bad-mouthing me behind my, well, not behind my back, because I'm standing right here, as I mentioned. But I've got to show them I'm not lazy. I have worked my butt off in this job and never complained once. Nina, I clear my throat. Do you want me to heat up the hors d'oeuvres? Nina turns to look at me, her eyes flashing in a way that makes me take a step back. Millie, she said, we're having a conversation here. Please don't interrupt. It's so rude. Oh, also, she adds, I'd thank you not to refer to me as Nina. I'm not your drinking buddy. She snickers at the other women. It's Mrs. Winchester. Don't make me remind you again. I stare at her, flabbergasted. On the very first day I met her, she instructed me to call her Nina. I've been calling her that the entire time I have been working here, and she has never said a word about it. Now she's acting like I'm taking liberties. The worst part is that the other women are acting like Nina is a ham for telling me off. Patrice launches into the same story about her cleaning woman had the gall to tell her about how her dog died. I don't want to be mean, Patricia says, but what do I care if Janita's dog died? She was on and on about it. Honestly. We definitely do need the help, though. Nina pops one of the unacceptable hors d'oeuvres into her mouth. I've been watching her, and she's eaten about half of them, while the other women are eating like birds, especially when Andrew and I have another baby. The other women let out gasps of excitement. Oh, Nina, are you pregnant? Suzanne cries. I knew you were eating like 5 times as much as the rest of us for a reason, Julian said. Nina shoots her a look. I have to stifle a laugh. I'm not pregnant yet, but Andy and I are seeing this fertility specialist who is supposed to be amazing. Trust me, I'll have a baby by the end of the year. Oh, that is so great, Patrice puts a hand on Nina's shoulder. I know you guys have been wanting a baby for so long, and Andrew is such a great dad. Nina nods, and for a moment, her eyes look a bit moist. She clears her throat. Excuse me a moment, ladies. I'll be right back. Nina dashes into the house. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to follow her. She's probably going to the bathroom or something. Of course, maybe that's one of the responsibilities, following Nina into the bathroom so I can pat her hands dry for her and flush her toilet. Oh, and God only knows what else. As soon as Nina is gone, the other women burst into quite a laughter. Oh my, Julian snickers. That was so awkward. I can't believe I said that to her. I really thought she was pregnant. I mean, doesn't she look pregnant? She is getting like a house, Patricia agrees. She seriously needs to hire a nutritionist and a personal trainer. And did anyone else notice her toots showing? The other women nod in agreement. Even though I'm not participating in this conversation, I also noticed Nina's room. On the day I interviewed with her, her hair looked so immaculate. Now she's got a good centimeter of darker roots showing. I'm surprised she let it go that bad. Like, I would be embarrassed to walk around like that, Patrice says. How does she expect to keep that haughty husband of hers? Especially since I've heard they have an airtight prenup, Susan adds. If they were to get a divorce, she gets practically nothing. Not even child support. Because you know, he never adopted Cecilia. A prenup, Patrice bursts out. What is wrong with Nina? Why would she sign something like that? She better do whatever she can to keep him happy. Well, I'm not going to be the one to tell her she needs to go on a diet, Julia speaks up. I don't want to send her back to the mental institution. You know, Nina isn't all there. I stifle a gasp. I had been hoping when those women at the school were hinting that Nina was crazy. She was just suburban crazy. Like that she saw a therapist and popped a few sedatives every now and then. But it sounds like Nina is a level above that. If these gossipy shrews are to be believed, she's been in psychiatric institution. She has a serious illness. I feel a jab of guilt for getting so frustrated with her when she tells me the wrong information or her mood changes on a dime. It isn't her fault. Nina has a serious issues going on. Everything makes a little more sense now. I'll tell you one thing, Patrice drops her voice several notches. She's doing it so I can't hear, which means she has no idea how loud she really is. If I were Nina, the last thing I would do would be to hire a pretty young maid to live in my house. She must be out of her mind with jealousy. I look away, trying not to let on that I can hear every word she says. I have done everything I can to keep Nina from feeling jealous. I don't want her to get even the slightest idea that I am interested in her husband. I don't want her to know that I think he's attractive, or for her to think that there's any chance something could happen between the two of us. I mean, yes, if Andrew were single, I'd be interested. But he's not. I'm staying far away from that man. Nina has nothing to worry about. Oh my goodness. And that takes us to chapter 17. Let me take a drink. Today, Andrew and Nina have an appointment with that fertility specialist. They've both been nervous and excited about the appointment all week. I heard snatches of their conversations during dinner. Apparently, Nina got a bunch of fertility tests and they're going to be discussing the results today. Nina thinks they're going to be doing the IVF, which is expensive, but they've got money to burn. As much as Nina gets on about my nerves sometimes, it's sweet how the two of them are planning for a new baby. Yesterday, they were talking about how they were going to turn the guest room into a nursery. I'm not sure who is more excited, Nina or Andrew. For their sake, I hope they get pregnant soon. While they're at the appointment, I'm supposed to be watching Cecile. Watching a 9-year-old girl shouldn't be difficult, but Cecilia seems determined to make it so. After a friend's mother dropped her off, God knows what lessons she had today. Karate, ballet, piano, soccer, gymnastics. I've completely lost track. She kicks one of her shoes off in one direction and the second in another, and then throws her backpack in yet a third direction. Luckily, it's too warm for a coat, or else she would have found a fourth to abandon her coat. Cecilia, I say patiently, can you please put your shoes in the shoe rack? Later, she says absently, as she plops down on the sofa, smoothing out the fabric of her pale yellow dress. She grabs the remote and flicks on the television to an obnoxiously loud cartoon. An orange and a pear appear to be arguing on the screen. I'm hungry. I take a deep breath, calming breath. What would you like to eat? I assume she's going to come up with something ridiculous that I need to make her just to get me to sweat. So I'm surprised when she says, how about a bologna sandwich? I'm so relieved by the fact that we have all the makings of a bologna sandwich in the house that I don't even insist that she say please. If Nina wants her daughter to be a brat, that's her prerogative. It's not my job to discipline her. I head into the kitchen, grab some bread and a pack of beef bologna from the overflowing fridge. I don't know whether Cecilia likes mayonnaise on her sandwich, and furthermore, I'm sure I'll put too much or too little on it. So I decide to just give her the bottle of mayonnaise and she can portion it out for herself to exact perfect amount. Ha! I've outsmarted you, Cecilia. I return to the living room and place the sandwich and mayonnaise on the coffee table for Cecile. She looks down at the sandwich, crinkling her brow. She picks it up tentatively, and then her face fills with disgust. Ew, she cries. I don't want that. Oh, I swear, I'm going to strangle this girl with my bare hands. You said you wanted a bologna sandwich. I made you a bologna sandwich. I didn't say I wanted a bologna sandwich, she whines. I said I want an abalone sandwich. I stare at her open mouth. An abalone sandwich? What is that? Cecilia grunts in frustration and throws the sandwich on the ground. The bread and meat separate, landing in 3 separate piles on the carpet. The only positive is that I didn't use any mayonnaise, so at least I don't have to clean up the mayonnaise. Okay, I've had enough of this girl. Maybe it is not my place, but she's old enough to know not to throw food on the floor. And especially if there's going to be a baby in the house sometime, she needs to learn to act like a child her age. Cecilia, I say through my teeth. She lifts her slightly pointed chin. What? I'm not sure what would have happened between me and Cecilia, but our showdown gets interrupted by the front door unlocking. That must be Andrew and Nina, back from the appointment. I turn away from Cecilia and plaster a smile on my face. I'm sure Nina will be bursting with excitement over this visit. Except when they come into the living room, neither of them are smiling. That's an understatement. Nina's blonde hair is in disarray, and her white blouse is wrinkled. Her eyes are bloodshot and puffy. Andrew doesn't look so great either. His tie is half undone, like he started to pull it off and then got distracted during the process. And actually, his eyes look bloodshot too. I squeeze my hands, excuse me, I squeeze my hands together. Everything okay? I should have just kept my mouth shut. That would have been the smart thing to do, because now Nina directs her gaze at me and her pale skin turns bright red. For God's sake, Millie, she snaps at me. Why do you have to be so nosy? This is none of your business. I swallow. I'm so sorry, Nina. Her eyes drift down to the mess on the floor, Cecilia's shoes, the bread and bologna near the coffee table. And sometime in the last minute, Cecilia has scurried out of the living room and is nowhere to be seen. Nina's face contorts. Is this really what I have to come home to? This mess? What am I paying you for anyway? Maybe you should start looking for another job. My throat constricts. I was going to clean that up. Don't do any work on my account, she shoots. Andrew, a withering look. I'm going to lie down. I have a pounding headache. Nina stomps up the staircase, her heels like bullets on the steps, punctuated by the door to their bedroom slamming shut. Obviously, something did not go well at the appointment. There's no point in trying to talk to her right now. Andrew sinks into the leather sofa and drops his head back. Well, that sucked. I bite down on my lip and sit beside him, even though I sense I probably shouldn't. Are you okay? He rubs his eyes with his fingertips. Not really. Do you want to talk about it? Not really. He squeezes his eyes shut for a moment. He lets out a sigh. It's not going to happen for us. Nina is not going to get pregnant. But I can't say that to Andrew. They just saw one of the leading fertility specialists. There's nothing I know that this person doesn't. If he said Nina won't get pregnant, that's that. There's not going to be a baby. I'm so sorry, Andrew. Yeah, he rakes a hand through his hair. I'm trying to be okay with this, but I can't say I'm not disappointed. I mean, I love Cecile, like she's my own, but I've always dreamed of. It's the deepest conversation we've ever had. It's kind of nice that he's opening up to me. I understand, I murmur. It must be hard for both of you. He looks down at his lap. I need to be strong for Nina. She's devastated about this. Is there anything I can do? He's quiet for a moment, running his finger along a crease in his leather sofa. There's this show Nina wants to see in the city. She keeps mentioning it. Showdown? I know it would give her a lift if we got tickets. If you could ask her for some dates and book orchestra seats, that would be great. Done, I say. I can't stand Nina for lots of reasons, but I can't imagine what it must be like to get this news. My heart goes out to her. He rubs his bloodshot eyes again. Thanks, Millie. I honestly don't know what we'd do without you. I'm sorry about the way Nina treats you sometimes. She's just a little temperamental, but she really does like you and appreciates your help. I'm not entirely sure that's true, but I'm not going to argue with him. I'm going to have to keep working here until I save a reasonable amount of money, and I'm going to have to do my best to make Nina happy. And that does take us to chapter 18, and that's where we will end tonight. And I want to thank you all for coming in and enjoying this wonderful, wonderful book. And if you are re-watching it after the live ends, leave a comment. What do you think about the story so far? Let me know in the comments below. And please, if you are not a subscriber and visiting, hit that subscribe button. Join us. And tomorrow, for the creative writing class, you are going to enjoy that class. Good night, everyone. Sleep tight, sweet dreams, and I'll see you in the morning light.